well, now we know the truth. There's no doubt about it. There's no two ways to kind of doubt what's gone on and what's happened and everything else that you might want to delve into. I mean, it was funny that a few days ago I was hearing a lot of journalists talk about, oh yeah, it's a crazy power play, that the risky power play, and of course some of those on social media I pointed out. But we knew that this was coming. Let's not kid ourselves. I mean, it's romantic. It's something different compared to the modern landscape of the game, where players go to different teams, might play for some, might look to not play for others, with the effort of putting a maximum effort to go and play for that team that they dream about. Players that kiss every single one of the crests of jerseys that they play for, saying that that was the jersey that in the team that they dreamed about playing when they were a kid. I don't think that we will see that from Leo Messi. He'll be happy to be at PSG. He has a lot of friends there. He has a lot of friends everywhere, as a matter of fact. And there's no doubt that he will fit in, and the players around him will make him fit in as best as possible. Now, again, one thing is Leo Messi going from Barcelona to Paris. Another thing is you and I going from Barcelona to Paris, okay? It's a different relocation process. And it's a different lifestyle that we would have to have in order to live, our best lives, the way Messi does, or something along those lines. But you kind of get the drift as to what I'm saying. I don't feel bad for him. He's basically a month, quote unquote, unemployed, and he has an offer, an undeniable offer, to not only be able to earn some good money, but also remain competitive, remain in a position where he can continue to win trophies, and why not be at the top level with Qatar in mind. What is it now? Almost 15, 16 months away. But when you start looking at, and there's, to a certain extent, yeah, okay, fine. Let's start looking and pointing the fingers. And mind you, when in this exercise, let's not just point one finger, because we're pointing three back at ourselves. We have a lot of fingers to point, so start using all 10 of them. You have to look first and foremost at Jose Maria Bartomeu as the man that pretty much put the club in this situation to begin with. The mishandling, the misrepresentation, the money that was wasted on transfers, on the social media campaign that he had against certain players. All those things started to accumulate, and when you least saw it, yeah, Barcelona was a team that was generating €1 billion a year, but they were also spending nearly 950 million. So when things start going awry, when things don't go well, when you don't have that billion coming in and you're still spending 900 million, well, things do change. And the pandemic surely hit him in the face. I remember there was a quote from Jorge Valdano last year, and I'm paraphrasing, and he said, people in football thought that they were indestructible, and they thought that football was the greatest thing ever until the coronavirus came around and pretty much showed them what was real. Ladies and gentlemen, shit got real at Barcelona. Shit got real. Because there was a plan just based on... remember when people... it was like 6, 7, 8 months ago when Leo Messi's contract came out and he had earned 550 million? Well, let's be honest. Part of that 550 million, boy, he generated a great deal for Barcelona. He generated more than that for Barcelona. I mean, I would be safe to say that he earned about 5, 6 times that. So, if we look at it from a business perspective, it ends up being a great investment. If you look at it from, because no one has ever been able to do what Messi's done at that club. And I'm not talking about numbers. I'm not talking about on the pitch statistics, all those types of things. That's well documented. And if I delve into that, it's redundant. But from a commercial standpoint, what he was capable of doing, no one has been able to do that ever. Obviously, we live in times where that is a possibility. It's a reality. But we have to keep in mind that, boy, they were on the tours, and I'm talking about the tour, the summer tours when they would go to the United States or they'd go to Asia. They were the team that many were looking for. Mind you, I've been covering those tours for many years. I've seen how cities have just gone crazy when Barcelona come. Now, do they pay attention to them? That's a different story. The club really never had the best interest of fans to begin with. They're not a team that really cares about the fans. And if you see it, you see it especially when they go on tour where the players are very distant from the fans. And if a player even comes remotely close, it's a miracle. And they're even worse with media, I'll tell you that much. Bartomeu's the one that did it. But again, you can't blame in August of 2021 just Josep Maria Bartomeu. Now you have to start looking at Joan Laporta and what he did know that he didn't talk about. Because he was talking about months and months ago. Even when he took over as president of the club, said, hey, you know what? Hey, it's all good. We're going to renew. This was his primary candidacy promise. This was what he promised Barcelona socios when they voted for president back in March. We are going to sign Leo Messi. Now, yesterday he comes out and says, well, you know what? No, it wasn't going to happen. It was just a pipeline. It was a dream, and we can't live off dreams and all this other gobbledygook that he ends up coming up with. So from we're going to sign him to it's going to happen to it's about to happen to it's confirmed to happen to, oh, damn, we're not going to do it. What happened? You see, that's the big problem with some of these clubs. It leads to things such as, oh, Joan Laporta's setting up a power play to be able to pressure La Liga into changing things for them. And only them? Really? And only them? Because Messi's gone, and well, look, La Liga's been around. Now, will it have the same power? No, it won't. But football's cyclical. The Premiership will be up, the Premiership will be down. La Liga will be up, La Liga will be down. It depends now on the leagues. It depends now on the teams. It depends now on the people that run those teams to be able to resurrect those squads and make them competitive once again. It's happened before. It can happen again because football is cyclical. Now, we're in a position where we have a once-in-a-lifetime type of player in a once-in-a-lifetime situation. And the Barca brass, once again, in a once-in-a-lifetime bungle, fuck up, if you want to call it that, ended up pretty much blowing an opportunity. Well, I don't know if maybe I'm being harsh here, but they're not just blowing an opportunity. They really weren't honest with people in what they were saying. This was Joan Laporta wanted to be president again. Let me be quite honest with you. And again, I'm the type that, you might like what I say, you might not like what I say, but I say what I say and let the cards fall where they may. Joan Laporta wanted to become president of Barcelona once again, but he saw that the only way he could do it was to appeal to the most disgruntled portion of the club, which is a great majority of it, with the most disgruntled player of all as his I guess his calling card, as the one that runs into battle with the flag. That's what he was looking for. Again, guys, this was already in the cards. I mean, look, I don't want to say I said it, but I did say it during the elections. Now, was I in favor of any candidate? No, I don't care. I don't care who's president of Barcelona personally. I'm not going to go and support anyone. I'm not a socialist. I'm not anything of that nature. But I could tell right away. People forget, like I said, like I've said before in previous podcasts, people forget how things were. People get romanticized over the hype videos and how the trophies were raised and everything else, which is fine. But people forget how Joan Laporta left. And who came in to replace him to kind of, quote unquote, continue his legacy, and the reason why Barcelona ended up getting a Josep Maria Bartomeu to begin with. And then a few years later, had him and Bartomeu running off for re-election. They voted for Bartomeu plainly and solely on the reason that he won a treble. No other reason. So who's to blame here? You know, there's a saying in some countries in Latin America, whose fault is it? Is it the pig or is it the farmer's fault for feeding him? Sometimes the club has to look at itself. Sometimes the club has to look internally as to who they elect, who they select as their leader. And sometimes the socios themselves have to look at themselves, pardon the redundancy, and show that there is some accountability through them as well. And that to me is one of the big problems, that I'll say, oh, well, we elected him. He's the one that did. No, you're the one that voted for him. You're the one that was in line with what he wanted to do. Yes, he was the most glamorous. He had a track record and all these other things. But also keep in mind what he did to end up putting Barcelona eventually in this position, both during his administration and today. The economic situation's not going to get better anytime soon. And again, this is all the criticism, but also you have to start looking at him, and you have to give him credit as well, because he's not looking to mortgage the long term of the club. He knows that in 20, 30 years from now, he has to make this. If he makes the decision now, it's going to affect the team in the long run. The problem was that the way that he went about it. And that is probably just as bad, or maybe even worse, than people. You know, fans don't care. And I'll tell you that because I've seen it at different clubs. Let me give you an example at River Plate in Argentina. They find themselves in the midst of a horrible economic situation. Doesn't matter as long as you win trophies. Fans don't care. If you keep winning. Now, if you don't, that's the first thing they're going to go to. Oh, we don't have money. And guess what? They haven't won trophies, and there's no money. That's exactly what ends up happening with these types of teams. So, in a way, I don't blame Laporta for not making that, mortgaging the future of the club. Because as great as Messi has been, as awesome as Messi's been in his career, you don't want to mortgage your future on a player that's 34 years old. And I'm not talking the next 2 years. I'm talking about the next 10, 15, 20 years. Especially when you have over €1 billion in debt that you're trying to bring down quickly. It's going to be tough. That Barca bandwagon fell apart. Not because of the people that jumped in, it's because of the amount of people that jumped out. And have jumped out in the past week or so. Watch on social media. Now you're going to have a bunch of these Barca fans that were, covering Barcelona. Now they're going to be PSG fans. And of course, that's, I can delve into the whole cancer that is clientelism. There are very few fans in the world nowadays. It's all about clientelism, but I don't want to jump into that argument. And we see it now. See a lot of fans already buying PSG garb because Messi's there. And it's a team that wins. And it's a team that's going to win. And it's a team that has to win. I mean, the beauty of it is you're going to see Messi on Monday. Probably one of the most glorious moments in the Eiffel Tower as he's raising, I guess, I would presume either number 30 or number 19, depending on which one he ends up selecting. Maybe even number 10 if Neymar ends up being generous, or generous enough. But seeing him at the Eiffel Tower ends up being something glorious, but at the same time, it's like, wow, an era's done. This is, it's going to be those moments that you're going to be in utter shock despite knowing what's coming. It's like seeing that huge wave and just being in awe of the wave, but not understanding the magnitude of the wave until it hits you. And that's when you kind of see those emotions come through. But again, with Barcelona, everything that's been said over the last week, everything that has been able to be brought up, and maybe will be brought up tomorrow when Messi talks to the media, is going to magnify that problem, the economic problem, because that is a tsunami of a problem that Barcelona have in hands. Not just for Messi, but for years to come. I'll be honest with you, going into this coming season, I think Barcelona are going to play Europa League. This Barcelona side will play Europa League. I'm not the type that says mark my words, but I have a very strong conviction that they are going to play Europa League this year. Because for many years we've said, what would Barcelona be without Messi? Oh boy, this year we're going to find out.